Ever feel like you need a detective's license just to go grocery shopping? Well, today we're on a mission. We're going to skip all those flashy promises on the front of the box and go straight to the source of truth, the food label on the back. Let's crack the code together.
This quote, it just nails it, doesn't it? The moment you look at packaged food through a scientific lens, the whole picture changes. It becomes less about the farm and way more about the laboratory.
I mean, it's the question we all ask ourselves, standing there in the grocery aisle. You pick up a box that just screams healthy, but then you flip it over, and the back reads like a chemistry textbook. What do all those words actually mean? Well, today, we're going to find out.
Okay, so think of this as our official detective case. The front of the package, that's just marketing. It's designed to grab you with flashy buzzwords, but the real clues, the scientific reality of what you're about to eat, it's all hidden in the fine print on the back. Our mission is to crack that code.
So, where does any good detective start? With the evidence. And for us, that's the ingredient list. By law, it's the most honest part of any package. And trust me, it's where the biggest secrets are hiding.
All right, the first rule of our detective work is super simple, but it's everything. It's called the descending weight rule. Ingredients have to be listed by their weight, from the most to the least. So whatever's listed first, that's what you're eating the most of. Simple as that.
And that brings us to our first and most powerful tool, the top 3 rule. Just read the first 3 ingredients. If you see sugar, refined flour, which is often maida, or cheap vegetable oils in those top spots, that is a major red flag. It's basically a flashing neon sign telling you you're holding a highly processed food.
I mean, just look at this difference. On the left, you've got natural yogurt. The ingredients, milk, live cultures, that's it. On the right, a processed snack that looks more like a lab report. A long list of ingredients you don't recognize is the classic calling card of an ultra-processed food, or UPF. These are foods that are industrially manufactured and a million miles away from their natural state.
You know, seeing a long list of chemicals like that just makes you wonder, are they safe? Let's zoom in on one of the biggest categories you'll find on there, preservatives. What exactly are they doing in our food?
You'll often see these guys listed as E numbers. Don't let them intimidate you. They're just standardized codes. For example, E211 is sodium benzoate, and its job is to stop bacteria from growing. E415 is xanthan gum, which is just used to make things thicker. See, they each have a very specific job. Now, here's where the chemistry gets kind of cool. Preservatives like sodium benzoate are added as salts because they dissolve easily in water. But in that form, they're actually inactive. They're just sleeping. For the preservative to wake up and work, the food's natural acidity has to convert it into its active acid form, in this case, benzoic acid. That's the molecule that actually goes out and neutralizes the microbes.
But this is where our detective work gets really serious, because sometimes these seemingly harmless chemicals can interact in ways you never expect. And one of these interactions, well, it's a critical safety concern.
The plot thickens when you find this specific combination, which you see all the time in soft drinks. Sodium benzoate, our preservative, and ascorbic acid, which is just plain old vitamin C. On their own, they seem perfectly harmless, right? But here's the crucial question. What happens if that soda can sits out in the sun or is stored on a shelf for a really long time? What happens when you add energy to that mix in the form of heat or UV light?
And here is the shocking reveal. Under those conditions, the two can react to form small amounts of benzene, which is a known carcinogen. This is a classic and pretty scary example of an unintended chemical reaction happening inside the food itself that regulators and manufacturers have to carefully manage.
Now, it's not all about risk. Some additives just perform specific jobs to change a food's texture. Ever wonder how creamy salad dressing stays so perfectly mixed? The secret is emulsifiers. Think of them as a molecular bridge. One end of the molecule loves water, and the other end loves fat. It literally holds them together, creating that smooth, consistent texture you see in so many processed foods.
So we've seen how chemicals can hide risks. But what about an ingredient we all think we know, like sugar? Well, it turns out manufacturers have become absolute experts at hiding it in plain sight. How clever are they? Get this, there are over 50 different names for sugar that can appear on an ingredient list. 50! This makes it incredibly difficult for anyone to spot how much is really in there.
Here are just a few of the aliases. You have the obvious syrups like high fructose corn syrup, but you really have to watch out for industrial sugars like maltodextrin. A lot of people don't think of it as sugar, but it has a glycemic index that's higher than table sugar, which means it will spike your blood sugar even faster. And don't forget the healthy disguises, like fruit juice concentrate, which is often just concentrated sugar without any of the fruit's natural fiber.
And this all leads to the marketing smoke screens. You see, no added sugar on the front, and it sounds great, right? But it doesn't mean low in sugar. It can still be absolutely packed with fruit concentrates. And sugar-free? Well, that usually just means it's full of artificial sweeteners instead. It's a total shell game.
So, with all these tricks and all these hidden clues, how do we finally close the case? How do we use this knowledge to become truly empowered shoppers? Let's review our detective toolkit.
Okay, here's your toolkit. 1. Use the top 3 rule for a quick assessment. 2. Watch for that long chemistry sheet list that signals it's a UPF. 3. Learn to spot the 50-plus names for hidden sugar. 4. Be aware of those risky combinations, like the one that can form benzene. And finally, your ultimate verification step.
In India, that final check is the FSSAI shield. The Food Safety and Standards Authority of India requires every single packaged food product to have a license number. This is your assurance that the product is legally registered and meets basic safety standards.
Look for this 14-digit number. Finding it is the final step in your investigation. It confirms the product's legitimacy before you even think about putting it in your cart.
So we've uncovered hidden sugars, we've decoded chemical agents, and we've exposed the marketing tricks. The real question is, now that you know how to read the code, will you ever look at a food label the same way again?